Today on the Matt Walsh Show, Gavin Newsom pretends to be moderate as he prepares for his inevitable 2028 presidential run. One of the astronauts trapped on the International Space Station confirms Elon Musk's claim that the Biden administration wouldn't let Musk rescue them. We have another cultural appropriation controversy, haven't had one of those in a while, and a newly unearthed video shows that Representative Jasmine Crockett used to speak like a normal person of at least average intelligence before she was elected to Congress. We'll talk about all that and more today on the Matt Walsh Show. Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. GCU believes in equal opportunity and that the American dream starts with purpose. GCU equips you to serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. By honoring your career calling, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. Change the world for good by putting others before yourself to glorify God. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With over 340 academic programs as of September 2024, GCU meets you where you are and provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Let it flourish. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu. The summer of 2024 was one of those whirlwinds of breaking news and total chaos where everything blends together. Over time, dates from that period get mixed up and transposed just because of so many things were happening all at once. So it can be useful to take a step back and think about the timeline a little bit. For example, you might not remember that when Joe Biden officially announced that he was not running for president, it took just a couple of hours for the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, to make his own announcement. Newsom declared, in no uncertain terms, that he would not make a bid for the presidency. Instead, he threw his full endorsement behind Kamala Harris, one of the least appealing and most uncharismatic candidates the Democrats have ever nominated to high office. If you understand Gavin Newsom as the extremely calculating politician that he is, this kind of quick, knee-jerk decision-making raises a few questions. After all, it was an extraordinary move by Newsom for a couple of reasons. First of all, most of the most important figures in the Democrat Party, like Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi, did not endorse Kamala Harris on the same day that Joe Biden was forced out. It took Obama nearly a week to come around to the idea. And secondly, of course, Gavin Newsom was correctly seen as a far more talented politician than Kamala. He was almost certain to outperform her in every swing state. So why would he take himself out of the running so quickly? Well, if there's any doubt about Newsom's intentions, we don't have to wonder anymore. Gavin Newsom will run for president in 2028. Now, he determined a long time ago that it's better to run on his own rather than try to defend a record as unpopular and destructive as Joe Biden's. And Newsom will challenge the Republican candidate, most likely J.D. Vance, using a platform of faux moderation rather than any kind of principle. Newsom's plan is to stake out an untenable, inauthentic middle ground on the theory that voters will come to see the Trump administration as too inflexible and extreme on the issues. And we don't have to guess about this. In case you haven't heard, Gavin Newsom has just launched his own podcast. It's a show that makes the game plan pretty clear. One of Newsom's first guests was Charlie Kirk, who proceeded to press Newsom on some of his party's most unpopular positions. And here's one of the most important moments from the show, for example. Watch how Newsom responds when Charlie brings up the fundamental insanity of forcing women to compete against men in sports.
So like you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, right. that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate
but like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed?
Now, it's a pretty incredible surrender, even if Newsom doesn't admit that he's surrendering. He is. He suggests that it's profoundly unfair for a man to compete in women's sports, as any sane person must agree. But then he still tries to find some kind of middle ground with the bit about how we have to have grace for self-identified trans people because, quote, they're more likely to commit suicide, which is just classic Newsom doublespeak. He's not actually committing to any particular position. He's not saying anything that suggests that he'll comply with any of Trump's orders on gender ideology. Nor is Newsom saying anything relevant to men like James Younger, who just lost custody of his child because Newsom declared California a sanctuary state for child sex changes. Instead, Newsom is using language that he thinks will resonate with conservatives, invoking the idea of grace without committing to any actual position. But it falls flat because it's a non sequitur. The concept of grace has nothing to do with affirming delusions. And that's the central question here. Either we are giving in to the false claims of self-identified trans people, or we're siding with reality and sanity. Having grace to Democrats has always meant giving in to falsehood. It means forcing women and girls to endure humiliation and even brain damage in some cases for the benefit of narcissistic men. Now, in this interview, rather than committing to an answer, Newsom is using a common rhetorical tactic among Democrats. It's a tactic that Obama, who's clearly Newsom's mentor, perfected long ago. Newsom is essentially saying incorrectly that conservatives are offering a false choice. He's saying that we don't really need to choose between affirming reality or affirming falsehood. He's suggesting that somehow we can do both without, really explaining how that's possible. It's reminiscent of a line from Obama's inaugural address all the way back in 2009 when Obama said, quote, "We reject as false the choice between our safety and our ideals." Obama wanted to pretend that defending this country from terrorists didn't involve making uncomfortable decisions about, say, the rights of al-Qaeda terrorists in Guantanamo Bay. But during his term, Obama went on to make those decisions, and he did it because in the real world, you actually have to make choices. Now, on the other hand, in speeches and in podcasts, you can pretend that there are no hard choices. Although, of course, in the case of the trans issue, this is not a hard choice. Men should not compete against women or be affirmed as women, period, no matter what. I mean, it's not difficult. To be clear about this, Newsom is not merely a slick talker. He's not just someone who will use rhetorical tricks to avoid committing to anything. He will also lie unapologetically and pathologically. Later on in this podcast, Charlie brings up Newsom's record as governor of California. Specifically, Charlie mentions Newsom's decision to sign a law that enables school teachers to hide students' so-called gender identity from their parents. And watch how Newsom, who now claims that he's concerned about the fairness of men playing in women's sports, watch how he explains this law.
You signed a law where school districts can't even tell parents if their kids are trans.
Not true.
Okay,
Factually untrue.
Okay, then.
No, they can. They just can't get fired for not doing that. And it wasn't just trans.
Fired for not.
The law was explicit, said you can't be fired for not snitching on a kid, not just for being trans, for being gay. And my point is, how in the hell?
But shouldn't the parents know?
They have every.
Wait, is telling parents snitching?
No, the teachers themselves have the right. The law is they can do that. They can do that. We're not saying you can't do that. We're saying you shouldn't be fired if you choose not to say Johnny was talking about liking some other boy or something. That's a charitable reading.
So Newsom is claiming that the law merely protects the rights of teachers to keep information to themselves. So if a teacher notices that a student is using they/them pronouns or identifying as a non-binary furry, then the law allows the teacher to remain silent and hide that information from the parents. That's what Newsom is saying. It's not forcing them to keep silent, but it's allowing them to. And of course, even if that were true, it would still be an outrageous piece of legislation. Under no circumstances should teachers be allowed to hide any relevant information from parents, including the fact that their child is demonstrating the symptoms of a serious mental health condition like gender dysphoria. But just as a factual matter, the law Newsom signed actually goes a lot further than that. You could pull up materials directly from the California legislature and the California Attorney General, which explain the law in detail. And this is also what the state of California under Gavin Newsom is arguing in court. Quoting from the California legislature, quote, "Students have a constitutional right to privacy when it comes to sensitive information about them. Under existing law, school staff are prohibited from outing students unless they have the student's consent or are required to in a limited set of circumstances under state or federal law. The SAFETY Act is necessary now because there has been a significant increase in policies and actions targeting LGBTQ plus students and the school personnel who support them. Some of these policies would require school staff to out students to their parents and guardians in violation of existing law. Close quote. In other words, they're passing this law because they believe that children have an affirmative constitutional right to keep information hidden from their parents. It's a violation of a child's constitutional rights for their parents to know information about them. That's what the law is claiming, which is total madness, by the way. And if Gavin Newsom didn't believe this, he wouldn't have signed the law, and he would instruct his attorney general to stop saying this in court. But instead, he's trying to have it both ways. He's telling Charlie that teachers don't have to hide anything from parents, and at the same time, the state of California says children have a constitutional right to hide their alleged gender identity from their parents. And that constitutional right, of course, can be enforced against teachers. Now, I'll play some more clips from this interview in a second, but first I need to show you how the Democrats' leader in the House responded to Newsom's answer here. This is yet another illustration that Newsom is clearly going to be the party's nominee in 4 years. Newsom is the only prominent member of the party who's capable of articulating a coherent sentence. Even if the sentences are pathological lies, he can at least articulate them. For comparison, here is Hakeem Jeffries.
I want to ask about California Governor Gavin Newsom's comments saying that Democrats were in the wrong for allowing transgender athletes to compete in female and girls sports. What is your response to that after Democrats had opposed the women and girls in sports?
I haven't seen his comments. What Democrats opposed was unleashing sexual predators on girls throughout the United States of America.
What? I mean, it's not even worth dissecting what the dollar store Obama was saying there. It makes no sense. Just an incoherent, what is it? That is incoherent answer. It was a totally incoherent, unintelligible answer to the question. And say what you will about Newsom, but he doesn't really have this problem. When Newsom is confronted with a question he doesn't want to answer, he has an ability to kind of worm his way out of it. And when if you're a Democrat politician, like that's a skill you have to have because most of your party's positions are insane and you can't defend them. So you have to be able to not defend them in a way that sounds like, you're giving a coherent answer. So consider this exchange from the podcast. Charlie asks Newsom why he was able to clean up San Francisco for the arrival of China's president a couple of years ago, but not for American citizens. And I'm going to play Newsom's response, followed by his comments back in 2023 in response to a similar question.
Why is it you were able to clean it up for Xi Jinping, but you
that
can't
was
clean
you
it up?
guys. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. By the way, you guys weaponized that. I saw that on 25 things. It was the most ridiculous. That was, you know what? I will happily revert back to your
Can I have the streets as clean as Xi Jinping?
In this case, weaponized. Can I
get the Xi Jinping
It was
streets
ridiculous.
back?
Give me a break.
No, but Governor,
Give me a break.
with all due respect, I saw a beautiful
absurd.
picture of San Francisco that looked like Singapore.
By the way,
and then Xi Jinping leaves and the Walking Dead come back.
By the way, it was APAC. You had dozens and dozens of foreign leaders. And California is not San Francisco, but I am the governor of California, not the mayor of California, not the mayor of San Francisco.
You were the mayor, but I just want to understand why is it that we were able to clean it up? But you have to admit, it's emblematic of something that if enough important people show up, it can get cleaned.
I know folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true. But it's also true for months and months and months prior to APEC, we've been having different conversations.
Now, when he's talking to Charlie Kirk in 2025, Newsom says that he's not the mayor of San Francisco, he's just the governor of the state. So how can you hold him responsible for the level of filth in the city? But just 2 years earlier, Newsom came out and admitted that, he made sure San Francisco was clean for the Chinese president. So this is utter shamelessness, and it's why Newsom is the most effective candidate that Democrats can run in 4 years. He has no reservations at all about lying at every available opportunity. And he can lie pretty smoothly, unlike somebody like Kamala Harris, for example. And it's difficult to kind of pin him down on anything because he just snakes his way out of it. And at the same time, Newsom understands that if Democrats are going to win another election, they need to rethink the way they communicate with voters, particularly young voters. He's the only mainstream Democrat who's come up with a new media strategy that is at all intelligible. Watch.
And it's by no coincidence that out of the long-form podcasting genres, the top 10, 8 of them are conservative or center-right. Rogan, Megyn Kelly, Theo Vaughn, the Paul brothers,
Shapiro.
our program, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh. There's a singular one on the left, which is Pod Save America, which is just like a bunch of Obama bros agreeing with each other for 90 minutes and saying that we're not very smart. And, you know, and so anyway, but I
appreciate it. No, but objective truth, right? I mean, you just dominate this media. I think you talked about it the other day. A lot of folks were talking about that Carville article where he talked about
roll over and play dead.
Roll over. In essence, he said that. I think it was a strategic retreat,
Mm-hmm.
right? That we need to come back. Trump's starting to implode. His numbers are getting soft. This was even before the tariff issues, et cetera. And then come back and strike when hot. And I immediately, no BS, thought about you, who's just 24/7 flooding the zone, owning this space, every day getting a convert, every day picking up 1, 2, 10,000 folks, continuing the momentum, coming out of this damn election. And then I'm thinking about, we're going to stand back and watch you run circles around us for 6 months, the next 2 or 3 years, waiting for the moment to finally strike. Struck me as not necessarily the best advice.
Now, this is the opposite of the Kamala Harris approach, which was to hide from Joe Rogan and do a handful of hits on MSNBC and other, mainstream media outlets. And from a strategic perspective, it's a much better approach than whatever every other Democrat is doing. It's a lot smarter than holding up a paddle in Congress or interrupting the president or, vomiting out random words like Hakeem Jeffries. And Newsom uniquely is pretty good at it. The lawyer Laura Powell just unearthed this interview from a few years ago. It shows Newsom explaining his leadership philosophy. And about midway through, he references an essay from George Orwell called Shooting an Elephant. Watch.
Whatever team you're involved in, business, baseball, sports at the time, did you lead then?
I was the captain only by default.
What do you mean, like best player?
I just became sort of in that, but I wasn't the guy seeking that.
You weren't.
I was never pledged at a fraternity. I never, when I was on the board of supervisors, tried to become president of the board.
Right.
It's not my thing.
But let's say you're in college and everybody wants to go get something to eat. Are you the guy that's like, we're going here?
No. I'm the guy in the back of the classroom still.
See, I don't think that doesn't... No, I believe you because you're sitting here, but you don't seem like that guy to me.
No, because I think, there's a great old book about shooting an elephant. And the author says, and it's his own life experience of how he was a soldier, and he was forced to do something he didn't want to do. And he said, I put a mask on and my face grew into it.
I see. That makes sense.
It's sort of the mask you live in, that you become, and so all of a sudden you start in these positions. You start absorbing these new responsibilities and roles, and you have a more collaborative mindset, but increasingly people are looking, no, you have to make a decision. I'll tell you, you want clarity on that, was all the stuff we all had to suffer through with COVID,
right? I ask you about
where you're
that too.
quite literally, at the end of the day, you're the one making the decision.
I know.
You don't get to scapegoat, abdicate, and that's on you. So you ultimately, again, it's like anything in life, more reps, more responsibility, and it's just iteration.
Now, as Newsom understands the metaphor, you put a mask on, a fake persona, and then you wrap your actual persona, you warp your actual persona to match it. And this is the Gavin Newsom origin story, in a sense. It's a window into how he sees his political career. It's not about authenticity. It's not about good governance, about making sure that Los Angeles doesn't burn to the ground or that women aren't assaulted during sporting competitions or any of that. Instead, it's about adopting a fake persona and then just making it work. And that's a strategy that has clearly served Newsom well up until this point in his career. But it's not going to work anymore. In the context of gender ideology in particular, the approach falls apart completely. So going back to the very, very beginning of this, and his answer on the trans issue, which everyone is saying is, he's kind of moderating his position, and in a way he is, but it's moderating it into incoherence. Because the trans issue is all or nothing. Either trans ideology is true, and a person's gender is fluid and determined by their self-perception, or it's not true, and a person's gender, their sex, is a biological reality that cannot be changed. And if the former is the case, if it's true then there's nothing unfair about having trans, quote unquote, trans women in women's sports, if gender ideology is true. If the latter is the case, and gender ideology is not true, then quote unquote trans women are not women, therefore, and should not be treated as women or recognized as women in any context at all, ever. Why? Because they're not. But as this interview with Charlie Kirk makes clear, Newsom is trying to have his cake and eat it too. This is the untenable middle ground Democrats will try to stake out over the next few years on this issue. Just like they're going to try to shoot for a fake middle ground on so many other issues. And Newsom is going to lead this effort for the Democrat Party. And the good news, though, is that it won't last. It can't last. This is no ideology that depends on fraud and meaningless platitudes and that is standing on this kind of incoherent ground can last for very long. People can see through the lies far more easily than Gavin Newsom seems to think. He may not realize that now, but relatively soon, say in about 4 years, I think it'll become extremely obvious, even to him. Now let's get to our 5 headlines. Securing your family's future is of utmost importance in today's world. As someone who's always advocated for smart financial planning, I can tell you that having the right life insurance coverage isn't just about peace of mind. It's about giving your family options if the unexpected occurs. That's why I want to tell you about Policy Genius. They're not an insurance company themselves, but they are the country's leading online insurance marketplace. They let you compare quotes from America's top insurers side by side, completely free with absolutely no hidden fees. Their platform uses real licensed insurance experts who work for you, not the insurance companies, so you can find the best fit for your family. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. And the process is fast and simple. Their licensed support team handles everything, answering your questions, managing paperwork, and advocating for you throughout the entire process. Don't just take my word for it. Thousands of satisfied customers have left 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot. So no matter what stage of life you're in, Policy Genius helps you find the perfect coverage for your specific situation. Secure your families tomorrow so you have peace of mind today. Head to policygenius.com/Walsh or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/Walsh. Okay, let's start off with some good old-fashioned cringe for you. The Post-Millennial reports author and influencer Sulhi Jessica Wu, also known as the Bento Box Queen, posted a video on Wednesday featuring female Democrat House lawmakers in a Choose Your Fighter style video, denoting the pros and cons of each fighter. The video features Democrat Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Lauren Underwood, Catherine Clark, Judy Chu, Jasmine Crockett, Susie Lee, and showcases 2 facts about the lawmakers and 1 so-called negative thing as they bob up and down with their fists raised like a video game character posing on a character selection screen. So that's the premise of the video that I kind of have to describe in case you're listening to the audio podcast, because this you won't be able to. Fortunately for you, you won't. You're not going to see the visuals here. But let's just take a look at this cringe fest. Yeah, I wouldn't choose any of those fighters, honestly. Can I get some more options, please? Are those the only ones? Can I get some fighters that look like they've thrown a punch, or at least some fighters that look like they've seen someone throw a punch would be preferable to me. Obviously, that was incredibly embarrassing and lame. I don't know who it's supposed to be for, and that's always the case with these lame politician viral videos that almost always come from Democrats now. Who is it for? Like, what audience is supposed to be impressed by this? I'm not really sure. But this kind of thing does show us a few things. First of all, it's unserious. It's very unserious, which is a problem because all of these people that you saw in the video would tell us and have told us that fascism, has come to America, that they're part of the resistance. They were wearing shirts at the State of the Union that said resistance on them. So they're part of the resistance. What are they resisting? They're resisting a fascist dictator who is worse than Hitler. That's what they tell us. They are fighting back against a mortal threat to our democracy and a threat to the whole human race, really, they would say. But then next thing you know, they're making cheesy TikTok videos. So which is it? Am I supposed to be terrified, or is this all one big joke? Imagine if this was 1942 and we were at war against actual Hitler. And imagine that TikTok existed back then. Do we think any American leaders, any politicians, any statesmen would be making jokey little choose your fighter TikToks about it? Probably not. And the other thing, of course, is that this is just really uncool. It's lame and corny and not cool. It's not funny, except maybe in a way they don't intend. It's a laugh at them, not with them sort of thing. And we've talked a lot about the problems the Democrat Party faces right now, all the kind of ideological problems. But this is politically probably their biggest problem right now, is that they're just, that they're lame. Like that's my analysis. That is my searing insight into the Democrat Party, is that right now it's super lame. And that really is its biggest problem. Now, Republicans used to be, and this is one of the big shifts, Republicans used to be far and away the lamest, corniest, most uncool party. And sure, there are still plenty of lame, corny, uncool Republicans, don't get me wrong. And neither party can be called cool necessarily, but Democrats have a much higher quotient of lameness and uncoolness right now. Much higher, in fact. And meanwhile, Trump has one of the coolest moments in American political history. Surviving an assassination attempt, blood, pouring down his face, raising his fist in the air, saying, fight, fight, fight. I don't care where you stand on the political spectrum. I don't care who you are. You just can't deny that that's one of the most badass things any American political leader has ever done. That's top 3 at least, all time. Like all time coolest things any American political leader has ever done. That's at least in the top 3. And you can't expect Democrats to match that. But and the other thing too about Trump is that he obviously very badass when you survive an assassination attempt and respond the way he did. But really everything he does, there's an authenticity to it. Like he's just kind of being himself, which means that even the things that would seem like they'd be super lame really aren't. So like take for example, the Trump dance. Trump. The Trump dance, which he performs to YMCA. So we've got a combination of things here that are not cool. Like the YMCA song itself, nobody would call that cool. The Trump dance, which is, he's not much of a dancer, we could say. And then he's doing that dance to the YMCA. It's not even the right dance. He's like made up his own dance. And yet, it becomes its own viral trend. Because he's not trying to be cool. It's just it's his own authentic, quirky self. And so this thing that should be really lame is actually kind of cool. So what do the Democrats have to match any of that? What's the last cool thing a Democrat did? Who's the coolest Democrat right now? Like, can you name a Democrat who is not completely lame and corny? Can you name one? I can't. And that is their big problem right now. It's their biggest problem among many. New York Post has this. One of the NASA astronauts trapped on the International Space Station said he believes Elon Musk's claim that the Biden administration rejected the SpaceX CEO's offer to help bring the team home. Barry Butch Wilmore made the comment Tuesday during an in-orbit press conference with fellow castaway Sunita Williams, 9 months after the Boeing Starliner capsule malfunction left the pair stuck on the ISS. He was asked about this, and he seemed to confirm it. Let's listen to that moment.
Our next question is from Aaron Gregg with The Washington Post.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for doing this. So my question relates to Elon Musk has said that he made the offer to bring you guys back earlier and that it was denied. My first question is that true? And if so, what would that have looked like? Was he offering to make another flight, push seats on another flight? Could you give us some background there?
I can only say that Mr. Musk, what he says is absolutely factual. We have no information on that, though, whatsoever. What was offered, what was not offered, who it was offered to, how that process went. That's information that we simply don't have. So I believe him. I don't know all those details, and I don't think any of us really can give you the answer that maybe that you would be hoping for.
So, what Musk says is 100% factual. That's according to one of the astronauts there. Is trapped on the space station for 9 months. 9 months, my God. Can you imagine that? That's, 270 days or so, which is actually about 4,000 days technically, because the space station orbits the Earth 16 times in one 24-hour period. So technically, their day lasts for 90 minutes. But either way, 9 months in a craft that has about 5,000 square feet of living space, which is quite spacious for a house. But when you're trapped in it for 9 months and you can't leave, you can't go for a walk, you can't drive to the store or anything else, I'm sure it becomes very cramped. More to the point, Elon said that he could have rescued them from the space station months ago, and the Biden administration turned them down. And of course, Elon, when he made this claim, was fact-checked for it, and the fact checkers rated it false, and he was accused of lying. But now we have one of the astronauts confirming it, saying it was 100% factual, and it's obvious. Of course, it's factual. Like, of course, the administration would rather keep astronauts stranded in space than let Elon save them. Of course. And I say, of course, not because it's the right decision, but because that's how they operate. I mean, these are the same people who infamously now chose to sit on their hands and not applaud a pediatric cancer survivor because they didn't want to agree with Trump about something. They didn't even want to agree with Trump that cancer is bad and it's good that this child survived it. Even that statement, they didn't want to agree with it because Trump said it. So that's the level of pettiness we're dealing with. And after their performance at the joint session speech, it is now completely believable. I mean, it was before, but even more so now that, the Democrats would stop Elon from rescuing these astronauts because they don't want to give him the win. That's a big win for Elon Musk and for SpaceX. It's an indictment it would be an indictment of the Biden administration and of the federal government. And they would rather those astronauts die. I mean, and that would be you understand, like, that's an easy choice for the Democrats, for the Biden regime. If it was an emergency and like something was going catastrophically wrong and they needed to evacuate the astronauts in the next few days or they would die, the Biden regime would have happily just let them die rather than allow Musk to save them. They wouldn't have to think about it. There'd be no deliberation. They're not going to lose any sleep over it. But trading in a couple people's lives just for the sake of, just for politics, absolutely, they would do that. No doubt about it. I mean, if there was an asteroid headed towards Earth, which in fact there might be, I think they said 2032, there's like a 3% chance that an asteroid that's the size of a school bus or something, or maybe a little bit bigger, hits the Earth. And if it hits a city, it's going to be like a nuclear, worse than a nuclear explosion. But I guess we're not going to worry about that right now. But anyway, if there was an asteroid headed towards Earth, and Elon and SpaceX had the ability to go up like Armageddon style, right, and land Bruce Willis and Steve Buscemi on it, and blow the asteroid up and save Earth, the Democrats would rather just have the asteroid hit than let Elon do that. And again, there'd be nothing for them to think about. If it was, okay, on one hand, Elon Musk can get a win, or we can let 50 million people die, every elected Democrat in the country would say, oh yeah, well, just 50 million people. We don't need them anyway. Earth is too overpopulated as it is. So that's the kind of, that's what we're dealing with. Those are the kinds of people we're dealing with. It's been a little while since we had a cultural appropriation controversy, but here we are again. This is a streamer by the name of, I don't know her name, but she's being confronted by a black woman on video here, this video that went viral, for wearing braids. Let's see it.
That's ugly as we wear that.
It's braids.
Take that out now.
Are you being for real?
Take that out now.
Okay, what's your problem?
Take that out now.
We're dressed in the sort
but take that out now. Take that out. That's ugly as. That's ugly though. Like, look at your hair.
It doesn't look bad.
That's ugly.
Hey, please stop following us.
Very eloquent, as we would expect. And so she's saying take the braids out because it's cultural appropriation. Now, cultural appropriation, obviously a nonsense concept. I don't need to explain that to you. I have made the case many times. I also think it's funny when there's a cultural appropriation outburst over braids, of all things. Does anyone actually think that black people invented braids? What kind of understanding of human history, what level of misunderstanding of human history do you need to have to think that black people invented braiding your hair? Like, no one else figured out, thousands of years of human existence, nobody figured out how to do a braid until they saw black people do it. Does anyone really think that? Well, whether you think it or not, white people have been braiding their hair for thousands of years. I mean, the Vikings were braiding their hair back in the year 900, and they didn't invent it either. I mean, there's really no way to say who invented it, but it's been, as far as we know, for as long as there have been people, there's been braids. Okay, it's not, this was one of those things. They probably discovered braiding before they discovered, the wheel. Which, in fact, we know that's the case too, because in Native American tribes, they had braided hair, but they didn't have the wheel. So they didn't have a written language. So this is pretty early on, right, in the process of the development of human civilization. So, I don't think, there's no way to determine which race invented braids. But probably white people have a more credible claim to that if you want to get into that context, or that contest rather. We certainly know that if the cultural appropriation game was played equally, it would not work out well for most races. Because we know for a fact, we don't know who invented braids. I don't think any one person invented it. We do know for a fact, though, that a white person invented jeans, sneakers, airplanes, cars, air conditioning, phones, the internet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So those were invented for sure by white people, and we're a part of white culture, basically, before anyone else adopted them. So if different races get to sort of claim ownership of the stuff that they originated, well, again, that's a contest that doesn't work out well for most people. And even going back to the hairstyles, as many people on the internet have pointed out in response to this video, Beyonce was just at the Grammys a few weeks ago with straight blonde hair. And she clearly has whitened her skin. Okay, so she is, in fact, actually trying to look white, or at least whiter. How is that not cultural appropriation? We've got Beyonce running around looking like Dolly Parton, and somehow that doesn't count as appropriation? It's pretty ridiculous. Of course, fortunately for Beyonce, cultural appropriation is just gibberish. It doesn't mean anything. That's not how it works. And but this is another one of those things that if the left wants to keep this up, have at it. Keep it going, definitely. Keep it going all the way to the midterms, the next presidential election. Great stuff. All right, you may remember the Alaskan Airlines flight attendant who was fired for twerking on a plane a few weeks ago. Well, Inside Edition interviewed her this week, and she says that it was unfair. It was very unfair that she was fired just for the the sin of twerking.
She's the flight attendant whose twerking cost her dream job.
I didn't think that, being so happy can turn into something like this.
Nell Diallo was having a great time dancing and twerking in the aisle on an empty plane before an early morning flight.
I decided to just take advantage of the moment to wake myself up and kind of get myself hyped up for my day, basically.
She posted the video on TikTok along with the caption, "What's wrong with a little twerk before work?" But after the video went viral, she says Alaska Airlines fired her.
What did they say to you?
They just said that I broke their social media policy.
Nell had only been on the job for 6 months. She says she was twerking to celebrate the end of her probationary period.
Why did you decide to post the video?
And I was really proud of myself that I came so far. I just didn't think that my video and my post and the way I was dancing would be deemed as inappropriate.
So how did you feel in that meeting when they told you you lost your job?
I put on such a proud face every time I stepped on that plane. And for them to terminate me without giving me a chance, it just was unfair.
Twerking cost her dream job. Happens to the best of us. I'm sure you've been in the situation before. Right there in the interview, they say, "We'd like to offer you the job." And then you start celebratory twerking. Just because you're happy they're giving you the job, and then they say, "Actually, never mind." And it happens to the best of us. So apparently celebratory happy twerking isn't allowed on the job anymore. I guess not. I thought this was America, but I guess not. Next thing you know, they're going to tell us that angry twerking is not allowed either. What if you're in a meeting or something and they announce some kind of new policy that you disagree with? Does this mean you can't express your frustration by standing on the chair and twerking angrily while staring at your boss right in the eyes and twerking in a very angry fashion? Is that not allowed either? How are you supposed to express your disagreement? How am I supposed to say, I don't agree with that, if you're telling me that twerking's off the table? So no happy twerking, no angry twerking. Sad twerking, can we do that? I hope we could at least do that. I assume we can. What if you just lost a loved one? You're at the funeral. You're overcome with grief. Can you twerk in a mournful way to express your sadness? I would hope. I don't know how else to express it. But that's the way things are now with this anti-twerking crusade that's happening. So, I feel bad for this woman. It's unfair. She's right. It's very unfair. And there's nothing inappropriate about a flight attendant twerking, dancing, having a great time. Personally, when I'm on a flight, the thing that I look for in my flight crew is, I look for two things. Number one, do they know how to have fun? That's the first thing I want to know. Does this look like a fun bunch of people? I want to know that about the flight attendant. I want to know about the pilot. Is this a fun bunch or not? Because I don't want to be on that plane if they're not having a good time. And second, are they good dancers? That's the other thing I want to know. So, in fact, just the other day, and this is true, we were coming home from D.C. It was some of the worst turbulence I've ever experienced. It was quite terrifying, in fact. And I just remember thinking to myself, as the plane was violently shaking up and down, that I have no idea if this flight crew knows how to dance at all. And that made me feel pretty vulnerable, pretty unsafe. So anyway, I'm on this woman's side. I hope that she gets another job and can twerk until her heart is content. Let's get to the comment section.
If you're a man, it's required that you grow a beard. Hey, we're the sweet baby gang.
Let's be honest. Those windows of yours, well, they're probably a disaster. Rotting frames, rusting hardware, paint chipping. You've likely been pretending not to notice. If you're doing a whole workout routine just to open or close them, it's time to face reality. You need Renewal by Andersen. Renewal by Andersen isn't just another window company. They have more 5-star reviews than other leading full-service window replacement companies and over 500,000 homeowners who aren't complaining. That says something in today's world for sure. Here's the deal. While other companies are playing hooky with your project, Renewal by Andersen actually manufactures and installs your new windows and doors. They do everything. Novel concept, I know, but custom-built products made in the USA not shipped from who knows where. And get this, they actually stand behind their work with a limited, fully transferable warranty. Right now, Renewal by Andersen is offering quality, affordable windows and doors for no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for a year. Text Walsh to 400-400 for a free consultation to save $379 off every window and $779 off every door. These savings won't last long, so be sure to check it out by texting Walsh to 400-400. That's WALSH to 400-400. Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. Matt, I've always assumed that we were close in age. Upon finding out I'm kind of old compared to you, 52. You thought I was in my 50s? Really? Is that, did you really think that? I'm not insulted. I don't get insulted by that. In fact, I take that as a compliment. I take it as a compliment. That means there's a lot of dignity and maturity that you see in me, that you thought I was in my 50s when I'm really not even 40. Anyway, here's a little suit fashion advice. Wear the brown belt, black shoes, and keep coat buttoned while standing up and walking around. This is from Traveling Experience. Well, that wouldn't, see, not every, you don't understand the full gravity of my fashion dilemma, because I couldn't do that because I was going to be standing and sitting a lot during, we're going into effectively the State of the Union address. And so I'm going to be doing a lot of standing up, a lot of standing ovations. And so what am I going to, every time I stand, I'm going to button the jacket, to hide the belt. That's not going to work. So I'd have to keep the belt open, and then everyone would be able to see that. And I didn't know if I'd end up on camera or not. Turns out we were on camera like 4 or 5 times. And just imagine if my brown belt and black shoes had made it onto camera. That'd be a national scandal that I'd have to deal with for the rest of my life. Did your wife see your shoes before you walked out? And if she did, why did she let you? Well, I was in D.C. My wife was home in Nashville. So I do rely on my wife to be my stylist. But when I don't have her with me, I have to navigate these challenging waters on my own. If I ever am somehow dressed in a stylish way, it's only because my wife has arranged that. Every once in a while, in fact, just the other day, I don't remember what I was wearing, but I was wearing just something. I thought it was a normal thing. I just was wearing like some kind of shirt with some kind of jacket. And I came home from work and my wife saw me and she said, "Wow, that's really stylish. Who told you to wear that?" And I said, "No one told me to wear it. What am I, a child?" I just accidentally looked kind of good. I didn't mean to, apparently. I absolutely adore Matt. I think he's brilliant, super intelligent, and very reasonable. Well, I agree, I have to say. I don't know, I agree with you. However, I think he's very cheap. Based on what I've heard him say over the years and now his shoe situation, to me it goes beyond basic frugality. I wonder if his wife and kids wear underwear from Walmart and toiletries from Dollar Tree while he makes so much money. Come on, Matt, throw those scuffed boots away and buy some new and elegant ones. Well, not my wife and kids as much, but I wear clothes from Walmart, sure. I have some Walmart jeans that I'll wear. They're fine jeans. They're fine. They're just jeans. I'll get T-shirts. No reason to spend more. Like, I'll get a pack of T-shirts from Walmart. You can get like a pack of different colored T-shirts, 5 or 6 in a pack for $20. Great deal. What am I going to go spend $50 on a T-shirt? It's a T-shirt. His clothes are clothes. So nothing wrong with it. Matt, if they confiscated phones, why was Pocahontas on hers the entire time? Yeah, they confiscated all of our phones before we went in, but then the Dems were on their phones the entire time. So yeah, that was a bit irritating. Bunch of comments all on the same theme here, though. I'll read a few. Petition for Matt Walsh to start an anime review channel. I need a Matt Walsh anime review channel immediately. If you did anime reviews, I'd watch every single one of them. Matt does anime reviews would be a beautiful rabbit hole of him changing his mind. Matt starting an anime review channel is what his audience desperately needs. Please do us the honor of blessing us with the vast anime knowledge and expertise you have. Would be great entertainment. Yeah, you guys say you want that. You say you want that, but I don't think you really do. My producers were trying to sell me on this yesterday, but I can't do it. First of all, it would require me to watch anime, which makes this a non-starter to begin with. And for another thing, I'm not going to like the anime. Okay, so this fantasy that you all have that, oh, just get Matt to watch this one anime, he's going to be an anime believer. This will be the thing. No, how can you, after all this time that we've all spent together, it amazes me that anyone could still underestimate my stubbornness. Okay, if I say that I'm not going to like something, I will not like it. You know, it's just, it's the same thing with pets. You know, I'm not a big pet guy. I think I made that clear. But my kids love having pets. My wife loves the pets. And so everyone always says, well, you know, you say you don't want pets and then you'll have a pet in the house and you'll bond with it and it'll be your favorite. Nope, doesn't happen. I don't hate them, but it never happens. I said I don't like it and I don't like it. So if I declare I don't like something, I will not like it until the day that I die. I can live to be 500 years old. And on my 500th birthday, I will still not like that thing, whatever it is. So what will happen is that if I do anime reviews, it will just be me dumping on anime relentlessly. And, you know, which means I'm going to have anime fans constantly crying. Which, okay, now I'm starting to talk myself into it a little bit. That's because that would be a lot of fun. That's not so much of a downside the more that I think about it. So we'll put that in we'll deliberate on that one a bit. The Daily Wire continues to fight. This time we're taking on one of the woke left's greatest accomplishments, quote unquote, and we're going to tear it down. Derek Chauvin was railroaded. The evidence is clear. His trial was a sham driven by media pressure, political threats, and mob justice. Derek's federal conviction was a disgrace, a political sacrifice to appease the mob. If we're serious about undoing the damage of the last 4 years, this fight has to be fought. President Trump should pardon Derek Chauvin, and if he hears from us, he just might do it. We're leading the charge again and launching a full-scale push for justice. Go to pardonderek.com right now. Sign the petition. We delivered major political victories, but the fight is not over. With your support, when we fight, we win. Now let's get to our daily cancellation. The other day, we discussed some of the latest rhetorical exploits of Jasmine Crockett, a member of Congress from Texas who, in an attempt to demonstrate her outstanding intellectual credentials, once bragged about receiving an honorary degree from a college that no one had ever heard of. Crockett demands to be taken seriously at all times, even though she's easily one of the least serious, least literate members of Congress. And to that end, at every available opportunity, she'll go out of her way to remind you of her many achievements. For example, did you know that Jasmine Crockett technically holds the rank of lieutenant colonel in something called the Civil Air Patrol? Did you know that she regularly keeps her houseplants alive for more than a month? She's bragged about that. Did you know that she holds the record for selling the most Girl Scout cookies on her block back in 2004? Now, if you didn't know any of this, then you probably don't listen to Jasmine Crockett enough, which of course means that you're a white supremacist. But it turns out that even among Crockett's most devoted fans, like myself, there's one talent that she possesses that up until now, nobody really noticed. And that is Jasmine Crockett's most closely held secret, but it's now all out in the open. And the secret is this: as it happens, she is one of the most talented, quote unquote, code switchers in the Democrat Party. She's kind of a savant, really. And if you're not familiar with the term, a code switcher is another name for a fraud. This is just a name that the left uses to legitimize someone who's a total phony. It means that you use ghetto speak in some context, usually when you're talking to black people, and then you use a normal voice in every other context. That's code switching, as they call it. And it's a real art form. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself. The Democrat Party is a certifiable who's who of code switchers, from Hillary Clinton to Kamala Harris to random state lawmakers you've probably never heard of. So for the purpose of this segment, I'm going to play the new viral footage of Jasmine Crockett's code switching, and then later on, we're going to compare her to some of the other heavy hitters of the Democrat Party. But for now, here's footage of Jasmine from before she went to Congress, interspersed with footage of her new accent. And this was unearthed by a podcaster named Kyle Seraphin. Here it is.
First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. You know, no one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress. It's just not what my plan was. But what I've always decided is that I would step up when there was a need.
Listen, he up there, he's hearing all kinds of nonsense, and let me just be real, and we weren't gonna sit for that. We wouldn't, you know.
But when she called me and said, I think it's time for me to retire, and you're the one that I believe should take my seat, I really was kind of caught off guard. I didn't anticipate that. If anyone knows anything about the Congresswoman, they know.
We showed up, and if he had some sense, then maybe we would have been about that life. But y'all know he ain't got no sense. So please give some love. This took a little bit of coordinating to do, for sure. We got some cool shirts.
You know, the congressional seat is over 4 times as large as my House seat. And I was just starting to get into the rhythm of doing constituent services and things like that.
We got Madam Williams, who just happens to have the honorary seat. It's not even honorary because she's holding it down, y'all. But the legend himself, John Lewis, that is the seat in which she currently serves. So she honored his legacy. This is the message that she wanted to send today.
Now, when I saw this clip, I went looking for news stories about any unfortunate mishaps that might have befallen Jasmine Crockett since her arrival in Washington. I asked multiple AI programs whether she had been poisoned by the Russians or maybe struck by a falling piano or something like that. I tried my hardest to find some benign explanation for this footage, but in the end, I came up with nothing. This is a change that Jasmine underwent all on her own. But as impressive as this footage is, it's also a little unsettling. It really makes you doubt your preconceptions. It's the kind of thing that makes you wonder whether Jasmine Crockett is faking more than just her accent. You have to wonder if maybe she's faking the whole being extremely dumb thing as well. Maybe Jasmine is constantly embarrassing herself in public as some kind of political tactic or as part of some elaborate performance art. You know, maybe she actually has an IQ above 95. If so, it's extremely clear that she is very committed to the bit. Jasmine is a method actor on par with like Marlon Brando. But this is par for the course in the Democrat Party, as I mentioned. Here's one of my favorite examples of this kind of thing of all time. This is someone local, so maybe this is why I'm a bit biased, but it's a Tennessee lawmaker by the name of Justin Pearson. You might remember this guy because he was expelled briefly from the Tennessee State House for staging an insurrection after the Covenant school shooting, which he tried to turn into a platform to make an anti-gun statement. And Pearson imagined that this stunt would propel him into the national spotlight, into national stardom. Unfortunately, everyone sort of forgot he existed after about 2 days. But for our purposes, the point is that Pearson attended a leafy liberal arts college in Maine, where tuition runs over $60,000 a year. Then, after he led his insurrection, he started sounding a lot, very different from how he sounded in Maine. Let's watch that again.
Justin J. Pearson, and I'm running for president of BSG. There are a few reasons that we're running this campaign this year. One has to do with representation. How can we represent all voices in a conversation? I wanted to do this by partnering with organizations from the Bowdoin Democrats to the Bowdoin Republicans. I want to bring together different voices, dissenting voices, voices that may be more liberal or more conservative, in order that we can reach a point of sort of the radical middle.
Seemed like the NRA and gun lobbyists might win. But oh, that was good news for us. I don't know how long this Saturday in the state of Tennessee might last. But oh, we have good news, folks. We've got good news that Sunday always comes.
That's a great one. I don't know. That's a really good one. That's an all-time classic. But if you put that up against Jasmine Crockett, it's kind of a tough call. Who is more pathetic when you really get down to it? On the one hand, Pearson is obviously overdoing the MLK bit. The hairstyle gets him some bonus points also. Jasmine, on the other hand, she holds a higher office. You could make the case that she's fooled more people for a lot longer. But let's keep going. As we all know, both Jasmine and Justin Pearson have very stiff competition from Hillary Clinton in the competition for, best code switcher of all time in the Democrat Party, or at least the most pitiful and embarrassing. When we say best, that's what we mean in this context. So here she was back in 2008. This is another classic. And when she was, campaigning against Barack Obama, let's relive this one.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
I don't feel no ways tired, which I think means that she does feel tired. If she doesn't feel no ways tired, I don't feel no ways tired, then that means I do feel some ways tired. So I think it's kind of a riddle, but it's also the most egregious code switch in modern political history. I mean, she's held the throne for more than a decade. Frankly, it's hard to see how Jasmine Crockett or Justin Pearson could possibly beat that. Hillary is the gold standard for this kind of thing. And that's why when Kamala Harris started using her fake accents, everyone compared them to Hillary. You know, everyone knows Hillary is the goat of hysterically fake black accents. And here was Kamala's attempt, in case you need a reminder.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Because what we know... Hold on. You know what? Here, hold on. Here's the thing. The courts are going to handle that. We're going to beat them in November. Beat him in November. We'll handle that. I love you back.
I forgot about the Puerto Rican one at the end. That was good. Now, as embarrassing as it is, it makes you pine for the real thing. It's a cheap imitation of Hillary and the black church. Like everything else Kamala did, it was an inauthentic, pared down retread of the greats. At least Jasmine Crockett's code switch has the element of surprise. When Kamala Harris tried to pull this, no one was shocked or stunned in any way. Instead, people, just laughed. And this is, I guess, the ranking then. In the annals of Democrat Party code switchers, that is frauds, total frauds and phonies, we have Hillary Clinton, then Jasmine Crockett, then Kamala Harris. And even though this newly unearthed footage adds a bit of excitement, the fact remains that Jasmine Crockett still isn't that special or interesting, even in terms of code switching. There's just not much to celebrate here. It's bad, but it doesn't even have the distinction of being the worst we've ever seen. And that is why Jasmine Crockett is today finally canceled. That'll do it for the show today and this week. Have a great weekend. Talk to you on Monday. Godspeed. The executive producer of the Matt Walsh Show is Sean Hampton. Our associate producer is McKenna Michaelis. The show is directed by Mark Jones and Trey Miller. Our production manager is Austin Michaelis. The show is edited by Jeff Tomlin. Our lead audio engineer is Mike Coromina. Our audio engineer is Ryan Reese. Our hair and makeup artists are Cherokee Hart and Andrea Bauer. Our wardrobe stylists are Kristen Galarraga and Cameron Lasko. Our director of post-production is Matthew Kemp. Director of production operations is Pavel Vodosky. Our chief broadcast engineer is Jeff Govin. And our assistant broadcast engineer is Allegra Rohr. Our lighting director is Keith Duggan. Our playback operators are CJ Hickish and Finn Pope. Our show assistant is Holly Merritt. And our production assistant is Mike Moran. Executive in charge of production is David Wormus. Executive producer is Jeremy Boring. The Matt Walsh Show is a Daily Wire production. Copyright Daily Wire 2024.
Hi, this is Andrew Klavan. If you like American flags and automatic weapons and shaking your fist at homosexuals while fighter jets fly over in formation, come to the Andrew Klavan Show. We don't have any of that. But we will be making fun of idiots and praising God and laughing our way through the fall of the Republic. It's like an insane asylum for happy people. That's the Andrew Klavan Show right here on Daily Wire Plus.